Well, we're getting caught up with where we left off on the Gardner Brothers Mill.
When are we ever caught up?
Yeah, hopefully never. There's always another project coming along. But we're getting back to where we left off on building the Gardner Brothers Mill, which was supposed to be this fun little project at the bottom of the canyon. And, well, it kind of got bigger than this.
Yeah, we ended up at the bottom of the canyon, yeah.
Sometimes these things get away from you. Anyway, let's pick up where we left off. We're working this week on the boat dock.
Oh, good.
One of the first things that sort of got away from me when I said, let's put a mill down here, is I said, hey, let's have a boat dock with a boat.
I hope that didn't get away.
So we're going to build a boat dock entirely out of wood this week. And, well, that requires a few modifications to the basic structure. If you've been following along, this is what we started out with.
Oh, it's a model.
It's a Mountains in Minutes. They came out with these in the 1990s, and they did a whole series of structures. They normally do rock castings and stuff. But while they were doing rock castings out of urethane foam, for some reason they said, hey, let's do some structures as well.
Oh, cool.
And boy, are they nice.
Yes.
They were only on the market for a hot minute. They're probably too hard to make or something. But you can find these around, Mountains in Minutes structures from the 1990s. And this is their mill. And so that's what we've been working on. We kind of left off on it a couple of weeks ago, but now we're picking up where we left off. So keeping in mind that this mill structure is right up against the gigantic trestle, it actually is integrated into the trestle. It's really sort of a part of the trestle. There are interconnecting pieces between the two. Now, one of the things that I want to do is add a boat dock to the right side of this, which will be right up against the trestle. And I just think that'll be a fun feature to have. But there's no terrain around the original casting here. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is expand the size of the base so that I have a place for the wooden boat dock to sit. So just as with the rest of the canyon, and really the rest of the railroad, I'm building this out of this extruded styrene insulation foam. It's easy to shape, and it's working out great. So the base is cut down from that and then shaped with a hot wire cutter. Some of the foam will be left in its original cut down state where it looks sort of like rock. The rest will be covered over with Sculptamold and maybe in a few places celluclay to create a muddy beach all the way around this, and to tie the wooden trestle bents, the bents for the boat dock, into the muddy river bottom. So the first thing I did was sort of envision how this boat dock was going to work. I set the stringers in place on top of a cardboard box just to get the length and the height and see how many bents I was going to need underneath this thing. Turned out I needed 3 bents, and following my usual technique, I just quickly whipped up a little jig here to hold the pieces in place so that I could glue the various elements together. And then I came back and actually put brass pins down through the top of this to hold the legs onto the header. Now all 3 bents are the same, but only the one at the far end is fully exposed. The other 2 are buried in the ground. So what I did is I just cut down into the extruded foam, and then I figured I would come back with my Sculptamold and patch in around these holes and again create the sort of muddy beach up underneath these other 2 bents. Because the trestle bents are all 3 exactly the same, it was my assumption that all the entire pier would be level because it's sitting on 3 exact bents, but I wanted to double check that as I went along. Moreover, the very back of the pier sits, is built into the cliff, and so I wanted to make sure everything tied into the big foam rock back there. Then I wanted to make sure that the bents were stained with Watco Danish wood oil before hooking them in place. For one thing, it'd be difficult to stain them if they're already glued in place. Moreover, Watco Danish oil dissolves this styrene extruded foam stuff, so no, you can't. No, we'll do it in place. Next up, I mixed up a batch of Sculptamold, and I like to throw just a little of this acrylic paint in there to stain the Sculptamold. It always ends up drying much lighter in color than you mix it up, but anyway, it gives a nice base to start with. This way my bents are held tightly in place, and as I'm building the pier on top of there, I don't need to worry about something shifting. All of the planking and railings and everything are being cut out on a Northwest short line chopper. It's this little guillotine-like device with a razor blade in it. It makes cutting the wood down and cutting angles really easy. Now, this is sort of funny. We needed craft sticks of smaller sizes, and we went around to some of the craft stores, but there's plenty of neat stuff on Amazon.
Oh, sure.
And so we found these coffee stirs.
Oh, boy.
And they're actually made of bamboo, but I think these will work great. They're the exact right size. So I ordered 2,000 of them because that's the smallest package they have of coffee stirs.
Well, people like their coffee.
I assume they're for a restaurant or something.
Oh, individual use.
I don't know. 2,000 coffee stirs. Anyway, then I needed something larger, and so I ordered what I thought was a larger set of sticks. Accidentally ordered the same thing.
Oh, my goodness.
So now we have 4,000 coffee stirs.
Oh, fun.
And so I contacted, I sent through the little automated thing through Amazon, said ordered by mistake, and they just refunded the money and said keep them.
Oh, they come a dime a dozen, I take it.
So we have 500 stirs in the wood drawer and another 3,000 or so, 3,500 out in the storage shed.
That should get us through the year.
This is what I thought I was ordering for the second batch.
Oh, those things.
And they're actually kind of hard to find.
Well, yeah, skinny sticks.
Skinny sticks, Weight Watchers has them. I don't know, but...
Rumor has it if you stir your coffee with those, you'll lose 10 pounds.
Well, I'm going to try it.
Yep.
Anyway, skinny sticks from Essentials. And these are perfect. And they're made of like a basswood or something, so they're really, really nice.
Right, they're easy to clip too when you're building things.
And I clipped them off, and the coffee stirs for that matter, with a chopper.
A chopper?
Yeah, it's the Northwest short line. They used to make brass engines and stuff. I think maybe they still do. But they offer this tool that they call the chopper.
Oh.
And I couldn't build anything without it.
Well, let's make sure you don't chop your fingers off in the process.
The chopper is really easy to use. You just set the wood in place and then push down on the chopper, the razor blade here, and it makes a really nice clean cut, as long, of course, as the razor blade is sharp. But I keep a package of razor blades standing by because they do tend to get dull.
And here I was thinking a pack of Band-Aids.
Well, it couldn't hurt. The chopper cuts everything to nice right angles. I want to constantly double check as I'm going along, but you can also set the chopper up to do miters and other angles other than 90 degrees. I do like cutting these things to ever so slightly different lengths and give it a subtle randomization. If you get too carried away with this, it looks a mess. But I think it's nice to have the ends just slightly irregular. Moreover, a lot of the planks sit right up against the stone wall of the mill, and so I wanted to kind of match the irregularity of that while also creating like I say, sort of a random irregularity. I just think that looks nice. There's also this fun little walkway that goes between the structure, the building, and the mill here, and I just think that's really an inviting thing. I love these little areas where you look at that and you go, wow, I'd like to walk back through there and explore.
Well, that's what's fun about modeling, is creating all these little spaces.
Yeah, it's just it's a world that you can enter kind of with your mind. It's just fun.
It's like make-believe when you're a kid.
And you gave me this little building for Christmas.
Yeah, I just thought you could let your imagination run wild with it, really.
Well, and I think it's a recast of a Delton casting that used to be available. It's similar to it.
Yeah, it is.
Really similar. So I kind of think they just got one of those and pulled a mold off of it.
Right.
I did want to change up the roof and put a shingled roof on it so that it matches the mill. And we've got bags of these little shingles that we found on the internet. And so I just started gluing some of these wood shingles on here and using my chopper to sort of match in the angle. Made it fairly easy to cut out a whole bunch of these little wooden shingles and glue them in place. There's actually some fairly complicated angles here and some really tiny little pieces. So anyway, it went quite well thanks to the chopper. Otherwise, I don't think I'd have been able to do it at all. Then I added some of this really small strip wood on the ridge line to cover up the ridge line and make that look a bit more like a civilized roof. Okay, next up is this overhead walkway, and I wanted to tie that into this boardwalk that's on the existing building so that it seems like that boardwalk just continues out over the lower pier. And then I want to have a small platform here with a ladder up to the millrace, and then a stairway down to the lower level, down to the pier. Our good friend Steve, who builds such amazing O-scale structures, always has a myriad of stairways going up and down and all around. All of his structures are built on hillsides and cliff faces and so on, requiring dozens of stairways, and I just love that look. So this is how I'm building the stairway. Rather than build a really elaborate sort of notched stringer that would tie the whole thing together, I just build the side frames, the sides of the stairway, and then I notched this so it ties in neatly to the overhead pier, and then I come back and add a tread, and then a riser, and then a tread, and then a riser, and then a tread, and just continue that all the way down to the bottom until I have a stairway.
I think it's fun to see a lot of stairways modeled on a railroad. It's fun.
Yeah, like outdoor stairways, just
right.
Kind of meandering around. Again, it's one of those really inviting, fun places. Keeping in mind that most people will see this looking straight down on it like this, I always want to double check that it's looking reasonable and accurate, if you will, when looking straight down on it from the overhead trestle. Then all of these walkways and stairways and everything need railings. I've really come to appreciate railings as I've gotten older, but mostly they just look cool and they give the whole structure more of a sense of accuracy. So I want to make sure there's railings everywhere, and then figuring out the angles and then cutting those angles out on my chopper. It's actually fairly easy to build these railings. In the for what it's worth department, I always use metric when building models because it's just so much simpler to figure out all these angles and spacings and everything rather than saying, well, that should be exactly 9/16 or 10/32 of an inch or whatever. It's just like, okay, that's 32 millimeters. I digress. Anyway, all of these posts that hold up the railings are actually cut down out of matchsticks. Here again, we just got on Amazon and ordered 1,000 matchsticks out of the craft, matchstick department. And so anyway, all of these vertical elements, all of these railing supports are just matchsticks. Now all of the little support fascia, whatever boards, the vertical boards are the craft sticks, and then the cap on all of these, the actual railing part, are just these coffee stirs that we ended up with 4,000 of. And then I also thought to add a horizontal element halfway up the prototype railings have a structure like that. I think both for strength and to keep, like, I don't know, small children from falling through there. Now, there aren't any railings here at the end of the boat dock because it wouldn't be very functional as a boat dock if you had railings all the way around it. So from the pier shanty here all the way out to the end, there are no railings. So that's the boat dock. Next week we're going to pick up by building the mill race.
Oh, that's a brain teaser right there, because where's the water going to come from?
Well, actually, the water's going to come from you.
What?
Well, you said you had an idea on how to do the water effects here.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be part of next week, is the water effect going down through the mill race, because it wouldn't be much of a mill race without water in it.
No, you'll have a drought.
Anyway, this is where we're going to pick up next week, is building and putting water in the mill race. And we need a walkway down the mill race, so a ladder and a walkway, because somehow or another we've got to get down to the sluice gate.
Oh my.
Because there has to be a sluice gate in order to control the water in the mill race, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So we have a few things to cover next week. So you don't want to miss that. So if you're not a subscriber, please, please, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us build the channel, but it also helps the algorithm find you and say, hey, you like these kinds of videos. And speaking of like, if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. Anyway, the easy way to subscribe is to click on the upcoming blue button. Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet, and we hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Tuesday.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.